What's up everybody, and welcome back to another video. I am the Hobbyist, and today I want to do a little bit of a follow-up video to something I posted a little while ago talking about the driving tips for RC crawlers. This is just done in voiceover, so I'm going to throw this footage of the Hammerjaw driving in the background. But one of the things that I pointed out was that you need to know your truck's limitations and really get to know how it handles. Now, in the real world, this is known as driver's mod, and it's basically the amount of time you spend driving your car, whether it be your real car or your RC car. And it's really important to have driver mod, because if you don't spend enough time behind the wheel of your crawler, then if you want to go out and compete, then there's a good chance that you're not going to do very well because you just haven't had enough time to get to know your crawler. And I'd like to tell you a little bit of a story that I was sent via my website. There is a form that you can fill out if you want to send me questions, comments, or stories, and I'll be happy to read them. So this story was sent to me by a viewer who recently went to an RC rock crawling competition in Minnesota. Now, he sent me the story because he thought it was pretty funny about what happened, and I will agree it was a bit funny, but I think that it demonstrates a very good point. So I'm going to tell the story as it was sent to me. So this viewer decided to go on to a rock crawling competition on the weekend to have a little bit of fun. Now, he drives a Axial SCX 10.3, and he wanted to race in Class 1. Compete in Class 1, sorry. But this story is not about him, but it's about what happened at the crawling competition, because something interesting happened. He went and was watching some of the other crawlers, and he saw two different rigs. There were many others, but we're going to be focusing on these two specific rigs. One was a box stock Axial SCX 10.2 trail honcho being driven by a veteran rock crawling competitor. I am so sorry. The viewer says that this is one of the top crawling competitors in his little rock crawling club. Now, the other rig was a very, very kitted out Axial Capra. Now, they were both driving in Class 2. The Capra had a different body, but the Capra had been kitted out with all of the aftermarket parts. It had aluminum parts, it had brass pieces, it had a fancy brushless system in it. It had all of this stuff, and it was being driven by a younger kid. He estimates about 10 or 11. Now, the viewer went up and talked to the kid with the Capra because he thought that it was a really cool looking rig. And I'm going to be honest, I'd want to talk to the kid too if I saw a kitted out Capra, because that's just awesome, and it's fun to get to know the other drivers. And this was this kid's first rock crawling competition. He was super excited, and this was actually his dad's competition rig, and his dad was letting him compete in Class 2 with this truck, and he was all excited and ready to go. But one thing that the kid had said is that he'd only spent about half an hour driving this comp Capra, and that's all the time he had ever spent driving it, and he was hoping that the truck would speak for itself and take him to victory, because he claimed that it was the best competition rig ever. Now, the viewer found out later that the kid's dad was actually one of the top competitors in the club as well. He was constantly competing with the guy that owned the trail honcho. So now for the background, there's something I'd like to point out. The kid is racing with competing with a kitted out competition Capra that has a proven setup, as his father has won many competitions with it. And he is up against a box stock Axial SCX 10.2 trail honcho being driven by a veteran driver. So how do you think the competition went? Well, let me tell you. The box stock Axial SCX 10.2 trail honcho being driven by the veteran driver absolutely smoked the kid driving the kitted out competition Capra. And that was really, really interesting to me, because when you look at two rigs, a kitted out comp Capra and a stock SCX 10.2 honcho, you'd think that the Capra would absolutely destroy it, because it's been tuned, it's been customized, and it really is built for competing. a Capra is, or a Honcho rather, is a trail truck that people love to kit out as competition vehicles, but out of the box, a Honcho is just a trail truck. And that's where the drivers come in. The veteran driver was driving the trail Honcho. This guy knew his stuff. Now, the viewer also did speak to the veteran driver, and the veteran driver had logged over 9 hours driving that Honcho. And the veteran said, when the viewer asked him why he hadn't upgraded it, is because the veteran said he wanted to see how well he could do with a stock truck. And he did very, very well. The veteran ended up finishing third, right behind 2 other veteran drivers who were driving kitted out competition vehicles. But when you hear the difference, the veteran spent 9 hours driving a stock vehicle to get ready, versus the kid who was driving a comped out Capra only spent half an hour driving it. And because of that, he hadn't learned the truck enough. And that's what killed him. Had that kid spent a lot of time behind the wheel of that comp Capra, he probably would have done a whole lot better than he did. But the truth of the matter is, he really didn't. And that's because he did not have the driver mod that the veteran driver had. So what's the moral of this story? Well, I think it's really simple. It's the fact that no matter how kitted out your rock crawler is, it will be no match against anything else if you don't know how to drive it. So before you go all crazy with the mods on your rock crawler, maybe learn how to drive it first, because that will be much more beneficial than any setup. Anyway guys, hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit that like button, subscribe, and leave a comment in the section below for what videos you'd like to see next. But that's all for today, everybody, and I'll see you in the next one.